There are other chatbots in education. In South Africa, the only one I could find was the UJ's one called Botsa, which is their library bot. But the one that I thought I would like to talk to you about today is something called CS50, which is used by Harvard. Now, Harvard, as you know, is quite a prestigious American university. So CS50 is actually the name of the computer science introductory course at Harvard. So Harvard's CS50 hit the world in June this year. And of course, media caused a storm going, chatbot is the new teacher. Harvard is using chatbots to teach their courses. Of course, this is not true. So the lecturer that leads the CS50 program at Harvard is David Malan. They don't pronounce Malan like that in America. So at a media interview that I saw with him on a news channel, he made it clear that the AI bot is not a teacher, but it's an assistant. The second thing that he said that I found very interesting is that he said ChatGPT is just too helpful. It immediately gives the students the answer. I don't know who of you are into coding, but if you want some action, you ask ChatGPT and seconds, and it's got code that took you days. Of course, when you are teaching kids to program, you don't really want that. So he also said that they are not actually using the bot yet. It's in its beta phase. So what they have done is they have got a summer school, and in the summer school they had approximately 70 students who used this little bot of theirs. So initially he said that what they wanted was they wanted approximately 80%, they aimed for about 80% of lecturer queries that would be handled by this chatbot. At the moment it's been running for a while, and they are of course now starting with what they call fall season, where they are integrating it completely because it's handling up to 90% of their actual queries. Now, one of the questions that they've asked him in this interview is, but what about security? Aren't you worried about the internet access? And he then made it clear that they are not actually using ChatGPT. So for those of you that don't know, ChatGPT 4 is a paid version, and you can actually use that, pay for it, but then you can also use that to integrate into your existing code. So the more computer-wise people will understand that everything that we run runs on code. We've got the code that make you see what you think you see, but there's a lot of things happening in the background. So there is a link to a YouTube video where they talk about a tech talk, not a TED talk, where they explained how they've actually integrated this into their software. So if you are more interested in this kind of thing, but what I found very interesting was, of course, at Harvard, I don't know if you know this, Harvard only has a 4% acceptance rate, which means 4% of students that apply to Harvard can actually get accepted. So they, very much like us, have got classes of around 100, 200 students. But then they wanted to expand, much like we want to do, into the space of distance learning. So they have got what they call open courseware, and I think it's called edX, which Harvard started, where you can actually go and do these courses online for free. If you want the credentials, in other words, you want the little paper that goes in, you pay $198 or something like that. But this is where their focus was, because online they have thousands upon thousands of students. And of course, they have to make sure that the student experience is met. The expectations are met. Much like us, those of us that lecture in the distance learning space, know that most of our queries actually come from the distance learning space. Whether it is because of the anxiety that they have, or whether it's just because of the sheer amounts compared to the people that we have in contact learning spaces. So the question of what is more effective, distance learning versus contact learning, or as they talk about face-to-face learning, a lot of research has been done about this. I've heard that the first paper was actually done in like 1927 on this. I couldn't find the information. But you will see that most of these papers deliver the results that there are no real significant difference between the distance learning students and the online learning students. Sometimes, in fact, they found that there are better results in the distance learning spaces. This is the most recent one that I found very interesting because, of course, there are many countries where we've got war. And I don't know if you know about a student in Afghanistan who actually went online, did her courses through Khan Academy, then told her parents she's going to visit a friend in Pakistan, did her SATs there, so entirely online learning, and she was accepted at one of the American universities. Imagine she had a chatbot to help her, you know. Okay, so now the question is, why do students then choose to be in this face-to-face learning space? It's more expensive, they have to travel here, there's a lot of deadlines that they have to meet, you've got to be in class. And these are now not academic articles, but it's from kind of more popular media articles. But you will see the constant theme is this thing: connection, relationships, connection, interaction, personal connection. Okay, let's take a little bit of a break. What we have here is footage from an experiment, neuroscience experiment that was done about 20 years ago, where they told the participants that we put you in this MRI machine. Now, I don't know if you know about those of you who have seen it, where it's a wonderful thing. Psychology, of course, is in that pseudoscience space, and since we have the measuring instruments now, we can actually see what the brain is doing while you are doing it. So what they told the participants is, we are looking at your brain to see how you catch and throw the ball. We want to see which areas in your brain lights up when you are catching and throwing. Little did they know that this was not the real reason why they are having this experiment. What the scientists was actually after was to see what their brain looks like when they are experiencing exclusion. Because all of a sudden, this very badly drawn, two-dimensional little imaginary creatures are no longer throwing the ball at you. And they are throwing the ball at each other, and you never get to catch the ball again, and you never get to throw the ball again. So we have learned a lot from this experiment. One of the things that we've learned, which I personally found very interesting, was the fact that we experience social exclusion. In other words, things like rejection, ostracization, someone didn't invite you to lunch, your boyfriend breaks up with you, all of these kinds of things we experience in the same part of our brain that fires when you experience physical pain. Interestingly enough, if your heart hurts, you can take a Panado and you will feel better. But what is the thing that relates back to our conversation here? We humans experience virtual interaction as real. In other words, what does it mean? It means that with a chatbot, we can give our distance learning students that student experience, that connection, that relationship. Although it is fake, we humans don't experience it as fake. We experience it as very real. Tell me who haven't cried in a movie, who haven't cried when you were reading a book, and there you have your evidence. Okay, so how do students benefit our student and faculty? Immediate personalized feedback. There is so much that we can do here, but of course it takes time. I don't know who of you ever tried to train a chatbot. It is like working with the worst student on the planet, but it is a very rewarding experience, you know, when they stop going, anyway, long story. We can also tailor-make our responses. We can get the chatbot to ask the student questions. If he can't answer the question at that level, ask him a question at a lower level. Now he can answer it, and that is sort of developmental assessment. This is all the things that we can do with chatbots. Then, of course, we spoke about the need for human connection, enhancing the student experience, and then it can automate those routine tasks. 80%, 90% of those humdrum student queries being answered, so that you can take the time to do real relationship stuff with your students. That qualitative value that we are always looking for. How can generative AI innovate education? This, I think you have seen a lot. The focus is changing from getting the answer. Because it's not about the answer. It's never about the answer. Because the minute you know the answer, you've not learned anything. We learn so much more through making mistakes. So assessments need to start to focus on the process of getting the answer rather than just the answer. It is not right, it is how did you get it right? How did you struggle? What did you learn? Then I personally think of generative AI tools as potential partners in the learning process, virtual intelligent tutors. There's a lot of resistance against this, but I don't know if you guys know, I think it was Stanford, in 1830, there was a massive student uprising because they've introduced blackboards in the lecture halls where the students now had to go and do their math sums on the blackboards. We don't even remember that that was a thing. I think generative AI will get to the point where we don't even remember that it was a thing. And then finally, it is this beautiful thing of freeing up the lecturer time, providing meaningful interactions with our students.